Okay, Drake, do we have you back yet?
Yeah, you got me.
Okay.
I don't know what you're going to do with me, but you got me.
Listen intently. How's everything with you?
I just switched phones. Everything's fine, reasonably. I got a hold of a remote healer who helped me with my medical problems, among other things. And I've been gathering information, primarily. I got a couple of things I'd like to pop into people's minds. I keep hearing a whole lot about this Postmaster General, Keith Livingway, and then his buddy David Livingston. And to be quite honest about it, couldn't identify himself on a conference call the other day. And the reason he wouldn't was because of a certain person that was on there who knew who he was. That person hung up. Mr. Livingway is basically the same as Tim Turner. I mean, it's flip side of the same coin. The legalities that the guy's playing with, he has no idea. Now, if anybody wants to know the legal standing of a Postmaster General, go to the International Post Corp. There's approximately 24 members. These are national post operators. In other words, Postmaster Generals of different countries. They elect Postmaster Generals, including ours. So you hear that there's at least two of them out there who seem to feel the same way as Turner, that they can basically jump in and assume an office. Turner assumed the office of president, apparently. Then I heard some interesting things backed up by some recordings. The fun began when I heard the scuttlebutt about this individual leaving Russo and going to join Drake's group. Well, there's a problem with that. And first of all, I wouldn't have anything to do with the man because he's full of it. Number two is that there ain't no group. People listen to me on the radio, etc. The arguments, legalities, and all the other gobbledygook do not hold validity. It does not matter if you have a bunch of people that vote for someone. If it's not presented statewide as an office within a state, that person wins the majority vote. That person doesn't hold that office. That's constitutionality. Now, the thing that got me upset about Turner was that he said, well, we agree on things. Well, there's one major problem with his group altogether, and that is that within his paperwork, he states he's going to get it together, set us all free, and then turn us over to the UN. And I thought, well, that's nice. The communist organization that's been screwing us for all these years, and you're going to turn us over to that? I don't think so. I've got a variety of background information on a bunch of different people. I won't go into real detail because it's not really necessary. If somebody wants to look at it, it's International Post Corp. Put that in Google. It will come up with a variety of different hits that explains Postmaster Generals and how they come into being. No one may assume a title under any circumstance. Doesn't work that way. So that, as far as I'm concerned, hopefully we'll settle that. Let's see here.
Well, I do have a quick follow-up question.
Yeah.
Well, if you look on the internet, you see a couple of names. You do see Mr. Livingway, but you also see James Thomas McBride, and he's also claimed fame to the Postmaster General position. These are two different guys, right?
Yes, supposedly. I didn't find any validity in either one of them. I went through their websites thoroughly, and then I went and looked on my own. I got a report from Terry Hinkle as to what the situation was in terms of what basically it consists of. If somebody wants to look it up, Terry's blog is restoredusa.blogspot.com. You got all kind of recordings and everything else on there.
So that's Restored USA.
Not only this, but other things as well.
That's restoredusa.blogspot.com.
Yes, it's very easy to find. She does a pretty nice job writing, and she does not play games in terms of wording. She doesn't change anything. It's a verbatim transcript, so to speak, of what she's found. A lot of the time she includes links to validating information. So in some cases, actual recordings of people saying things that they say they didn't say, etc. So there's a lot of things on there that deals with all of this sort of thing.
Okay.
Basically, nobody is going to claim the presidency or rulership over me. That just ain't happening. And there's some things that goes along with that, too. As you know, I've been outing another bit of information dealing with a thing called NESARA. And one of the people I deal with got me a report. It actually has the White House general number at the bottom of the email. Deputy Assistant to the President, Director of the Office of Public Engagement. Thank you for signing this petition. All right, okay. The proposals in the National Economic Security and Reformation Act have not been introduced in Congress. That's the first lie. And the Obama administration cannot implement a law that has not been passed. Lie number two. They both know all about this. Moreover, many of the proposals referenced in the petition are not consistent with President Obama's blueprint for an American economy built to last. For example, a previous petition proposed from Jason Firmer of the National Economic Council explains that the Obama administration does not support a national sales tax because it would burden many middle-class families while slashing taxes for the wealthiest Americans. Now, he goes on to try to say that they're going to change the tax system. I haven't seen him do squat, and the only thing I've been seeing him do lately is tell people they're going to put a chicken in every pot and everybody's going to be happy about it.
Yeah, a car in every garage.
Political rhetoric. Now, I have information contrary to this, and it's being held by a very prominent individual and will come out publicly if need be. And there is also proof that both these individuals knew about it. So I got their lies in writing, and I think that might make it a little bit of an interesting interview. Now, as far as NESARA, a lot of people don't get it. There's two of them. The one that got covered up, and this is the one where basically the banks were proven fraudulent, and they were required to repay the farmers that they stole their land from. And, I mean, it's an extraordinary amount in the trillions of dollars. And let's see here. See if I can find that number. No, don't see it. Anyway, it's in the trillions of dollars, and the banking system, quite honestly, couldn't stand it. This is the reason, one of the reasons. The other reason is that the bankers feel that they're immune to just about anything. Now for the difference. The one that's locked up under gag order by the Supreme Court, so nobody can get to it, where all the records have been expunged that it existed, is the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. It was passed in 2000 and signed by Clinton. Let's see, it was passed 3/9/2000, signed by Clinton 10/10/2000. They know this. Believe me, they know this. So it is a law. The difference between what's called a real-time law and one that's not is the factual use or actuality or implementation of a law or condition. So they're hiding this. The banks don't want to have to pay back the mortgages, all the mortgage money they stole from us, among other things. That might put some of them out on their fat butts on the sidewalk, and they can't have that, of course. The one that you'll hear about that you can find information on is the bad one. National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. Now listen to those words, National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. Basically, it's a continuation of what we have now. And that thing needs to go in the trash, in my opinion. But that's the basic difference, and people need to understand that basic difference. They also need to understand that the good NESARA, the real one, has been squirreled away and hidden. And when I found that out, I got pretty upset, especially getting this email by way of a friend through the White House. I know I have had communication with the lady Nancy B. Detweiler, who compiled the history of NESARA, Master's in Education, Master in Divinity. She's no dummy. She knows when she gets good information and doesn't. And she goes through this in that report, and it may still be up, very concisely. And it states that it was hidden from view, from public knowledge. Now, one of the things in the provision of the law is that it has to come up every so often. By coming up, I mean it has to be outed as current possibility. Do we want to do this at this time, kind of thing? And what has transpired is that these people obviously don't want you to know that, so they don't mention it. And when you hear, well, as an example, Eric Holder is arguing with a Senate investigative committee about the records he's supposed to give up that have been subpoenaed. Well, they're calling for his resignation. And my suggestion to the listeners out there is, if you get a senator who happens to be on that investigative committee, I suggest you get in touch with them. If anybody else can get in touch with them, all the better. Having been involved in gun rights, people that would accidentally, not intentionally, but accidentally, sell a weapon to an unknown criminal. In other words, he might send somebody in who's clean with the money to buy the weapon. The guy walks outside and turns it over to the guy. They've been coming after the gun dealer, the person that was in charge of the weapon to begin with. And they've been still doing that today. It's a fairly common practice. I'll make a suggestion. When somebody does something of this nature, of playing games with guns and crooks, for whatever reason, And an innocent person or a person that's in the employ of the government to ensure our safety gets murdered by one of those weapons, I would suggest that the same felony charges be preferred against the person who authorized it. The reason that Holder does not want to come off with the rest of the documentation is multifaceted. But one of the main reasons is that any part of it, in terms of the information, that is not fully open, the individual involved will be called in to testify. I'm sure they don't want a felony charge, at least one. There's one for each weapon, plus the murder problem with the border agent. They don't want to fry for that. They weren't told to do that. 9 times out of 10, most of these guys weren't involved. There's just a few of them, but they were told by higher-ups. Now, by higher-ups, I'm not talking about a division chief. I'm not talking about somebody that operates the state or 2 or 3 states. I'm talking about the main man. Eric Holder thought it would be a good idea. This is where it comes from. It's his responsibility. And in taking acceptance with the man's I'm above the law attitude makes me look at him like, I wonder how he would do in prison. 3 felonies. These are international federal felonies. International gun trafficking ain't something easy to get away from. That carries along a sentence of its own. And they still haven't found hardly any of the guns. So my suggestion is that anybody on this that can hear this, start calling. Get a hold of those senators. Get a hold of any senator. Get a hold of the White House. Get a hold of anybody you can. Spread the word. Eric Holder is dirty, obviously, and he needs to go. You have to start somewhere, and it's pretty obvious what the man's doing and did. He was called to task on that on more than one occasion by the investigating senators. You're not giving us I don't want to hear about your 76,000 documents. We know about that. Where's the rest of them? And he would not answer the question. Well, that's contempt right there. The other part is that he won't produce the records that are required. And no, it ain't national security. You can't use that one. All it simply is cover my rear end so that my butt don't get in the grinder. And ladies and gentlemen, taking the positive action to see that these sorts of things cannot happen again because you removed the people that would do that can make a large difference in what direction we go. It'll make a large difference in what an effort by the people can accomplish. And I'll give you a little synopsis of that. A few years back, there was a paraplegic, lost both arms and both legs in a bomb. And they had him in a bed. And they had a problem. The plumbing up above him had a hole in it. Every time somebody flushed the toilet, guess where it went? He couldn't crawl away, didn't have arms or legs to go anywhere. Tried to roll out of bed and couldn't do that. He was stuck. Some friends of mine found that, and we put that out internationally. The Veterans Administration was proved to have known about the condition and did nothing about it. They didn't want to really listen. So we called the Department of Defense, better known as the Pentagon. Over a one-day period, they got over 3 million phone calls the first day. The second day, they got 7 million phone calls. We shut down the communication system for the friggin' Pentagon and most of Washington, D.C. And they did take care of the problem. They gave that man extra money, which I don't know how well that'd help with your peace of mind under those conditions. They fixed a bunch of stuff in the hospital. Eventually, as I understand, they closed Walter Reed down. I grew a beard and long hair for two reasons. One, shaving when you're in the tropics is hard on your skin, unless you are grown up there. So that was one reason I was living in Florida. The other reason was I decided that I'd get my hair cut high and tight, maybe, and actually shave to clean skin the same day that the Veterans Administration started treating veterans correctly. I'm going to give you an example. They look for any excuse they can not to provide assistance or benefits. Now, if they would at least provide the assistance, the benefits may or may not be that critical. If they'd help somebody get their mind straight after being on a battlefield and the horrors that they go through, losing friends and all this other stuff, if they would put a person back together and help them continue to be a productive, reasonable, decent human being, you wouldn't have the highest suicide rate of any military on the planet, for one. Number two, I wouldn't be mentioning what I'm about to tell you. Iraq and Afghanistan produced a whole load of veterans. Last count I heard, there were some between 600,000 and 800,000 veterans that were denied any form of assistance or benefit. What the VA discovered was that some personalities were predisposed to have what they call post-traumatic stress disorder, better known as PTSD. That's where you wake up screaming. That's where all of a sudden you suddenly sit straight up, no matter where you're at. You fell asleep on a couch, doesn't matter. And you were just back wherever it was you were. You either in the sands over there or the jungles where I was at. It's real. And you don't sleep for a couple of days after that, I can tell you. That happens to me every once in a while. I have that condition. And what they use to deny benefits is any kind of excuse they can come up with. Well, these predisposed personality traits are termed personality disorder. Now, I understand the idea that if somebody is predisposed to have a condition, that's a problem. However, they're still sending people over there who have never been tested to see if they have that disorder. Now, if there's any veterans out there listening and they've been denied on personality disorder, and you can check your dates, they came out officially about a year and a half after they discovered this condition with what is called personality disorder. And anybody who looks that date up when it came out officially, go back about a year and a half, that's the date they knew about it. Anybody who was not already serving in a combat theater that they sent without testing them for it, and they ended up with PTSD and then telling me there's something was already wrong with them, we don't owe you squat. You don't get no help. See ya. Anybody who's got that problem needs to talk to a lawyer. You need to rake them over the coals. It ain't no fun waking up remembering what it was like, believe me. Now, I look at Eric Holder, sorry to say this, in the same light as we used to treat some people that would not act right in Vietnam. All of a sudden, we wouldn't support that person. They'd be out there by themselves. Let the enemy have him. See how he likes being, now usually tortured to death. generally over about 12, 14 hours, and not nicely. Not nice at all. Eric Holder, doing what he's doing, is the kind of person who needs to be fed to the enemy. And this is why I'm saying that some felony counts not only would mess up his career privately, but put him directly in jail. No, you don't get to resign, Mr. Holder. Put your hands behind your back. We have a nice set of stainless steel bracelets for you. Come with me, sir. Now, there's a whole bunch of people that need this done. The only way that we're going to start straightening this out is by definitive action. That's why I was calling for this phone campaign. If somebody wants to call the White House, I'll give you the number. I like them too. It is 202-456 and 4 ones. That's 202-456-1111. That goes to the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They're the ones that also say NESARA don't exist. They're also the same ones who say, there's nothing wrong with Eric Holder. I mean, the president said that the private sector is doing fine. How many people feel fine? You just lost 40% over the last few years. Now, not all of that was his fault, but there were things that could have been done, if handled correctly, that would have lessened that to somewhere around 10%. Statistically, this has already been proven. So they are out, and I mean they. There's not just a singular person here. These people are out to destroy this country. They're out to enslave us. I would love to see the military jump up right now. I'd love that. Oh, man. And I hope there is some military listening. See if you can find somebody that would be interested in putting you in a situation of being a good guy, like you're supposed to be. Like when Iraqi veterans walked into the VFW down there in Florida, everybody who could stood and applauded. They didn't spit on you. You wasn't a baby killer. You were a hero. I lucked out in a way. I had Japanese viral encephalitis, spent a week on a hospital boat in a coma, and I came home all by myself, so they weren't expecting anybody, and so I didn't have to go through that. The first person that had said something like that to me, I would have probably been in a one-way fight, probably more than once. I don't take certain things too well. You find a lot of people with big mouths who have no idea. The saying goes, if you didn't go, you don't know. If you have not been in combat, you have no idea. Feeling Mother Earth shake, listening to death make all kind of crazy noises around your head, getting people blown all over you. I mean, you just got no idea until you experience something like that. That is not the way to go for any reason. There is not a good enough reason. I don't know why somebody hasn't stomped on Syria and said, cut the shit. Put your guns up, both sides, or we're going to just wipe everybody out. They put them down. And believe me, it's way past time. We might not be the policemen of the world, but some things are unconscionable. The military does not engage with military weapons. The civilian population may be armed with a squirrel gun. Oh, good grief. I mean, you know. So my main things were to cover the horse hockey with the Postmaster General routine. And if somebody needs documentation, International Post Corp. Put that in Google, and it will come up. There's a cooperative of 24 national post operators. That's a Postmaster General who operates a country as the general, the chief man. They elect Postmaster Generals. It's an elected position. Nobody, under any circumstance, for any reason, gets to assume it, unless directly appointed through some sort of special emergency kind of conditions, and only for a temporary time until the other Postmaster Generals can get their stuff together and vote on somebody that they think would do the job. Could be the same person. You don't know. NESARA is real, no matter what the White House might think. I have already initiated some underground work. I'm hoping that it comes to fruition. I'll be knowing that in a couple of days. If it works, the White House has got a serious problem, and that deals with NESARA.
With respect to that,
it's already got a serious problem. And if anybody out there knows an extraordinarily good lawyer who would not mind preferring charges against the Attorney General, by all means, go for it.
Okay, with respect to NESARA, can you very quickly repeat the difference between the one that's horse hockey and the one that isn't?
Yeah, it's basically within the name, primarily. The one that's real, that they're hiding away, is National Economic Security and Reformation Act. In other words, it securitizes the monetary system and also reforms the manner in which it's structured. See, nobody really loses anything one way or the other. The other one is National Economic Stabilization and Recovery. That means they're continuing the horse hockey we already got now. And I had this posted on that, I had a link posted on, with the voting thing on my website. It's called The History of NESARA. Now, if somebody missed that, you need to go to Pathway to Ascension. And they have copies of that on that website. So, I just remember I told you guys, I believe it was a few days ago, that a rather large bank in Italy had closed up. And did anybody ever kind of pay attention that now all of a sudden Italy needs an extraordinary bailout very quickly, or they're all going down the tubes? You get little bits and pieces of things that can have an extraordinary impact, and give you an idea as to what can happen here. What happens if they just close the bank? That one there is closed for 30 days. Now, that's, I think, kind of long. I don't believe ours is going to last that long, simply because there are other capabilities that are supposed to come into play. So that will make a difference. There are several private accounts that are extraordinarily large that will take care of us. If everything works the way it's supposed to, according to what I have been told, then we should not have any extreme or extraordinary problems, even of that nature. Now, for those people who listen to this in Europe, Merkel's been on the news, and she's stating that they should have absolute control in one hand. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's a group of political nasties that used to be over there, and the dude that had control in one hand had a funny-looking little mustache, and his name was Hitler. And I'm trying to warn you people that you think Hitler was bad, wait until they start getting things ready for us. There are 200,000 guillotines already here in the States. I have personally seen, the cattle cars that are set to haul human beings. The shackles are in there. My wife and I have done some traveling. And I said, that looks funny. Why would they set all that stuff there? I'm going to go over and take a look. So I drove over and took a look. I got in there, I looked in that boxcar, and I about died. It's like the FEMA camps. They don't exist, but there they are anyway. I even, when the president got elected, I said, well, we got FEMA camps, we got constitutional free zone, and a bunch of treaties need to be taken care of. All this stuff's linked. It's on his website, or was, if that website still exists. I come right out of the bag. I says, here you go. Deal with this mess. Never heard a word. I don't think the man's got the guts, personally. But I know this has been a little bit raggedy. I planned it that way. I would call every number you can find in Washington and demand the proof that NESARA doesn't exist, because you know that it does. And see what they say. Demand the fact that Eric Holder thinks he's above the law, and he isn't. He has personally been involved in prosecutions of gun dealers who have sold guns to crooks. They could add a false ID. There's a whole bunch of things they could do. Irrespective, they convicted them anyway. It's a felony. It's not nice. I can't imagine what kind of fun they would have with Obama in prison, but I heard that one of these individuals that runs a prison has a guy that everybody likes real well, great big old dude. They call him Bubba, and he assured me that he would be sure that any of the high-ranking officials spend at least a year bunking with Bubba. So you can expect some attitude changes in these people. And I know that sounds like torture if everybody understands what I'm saying. But I'm at the point where I'm getting fed up with not having action. Now, everybody that's on this call, everybody that can hear this, think about calling the Pentagon. Just make a call, informational call. When's the military going to take action and free the country? Hang up. They got your number anyway. They know who you are. You're on this call. They listen to this call, both sides. So you're not immune to you're not going to have privacy. There's only one system I've found so far on the planet that offers privacy of that nature. And believe me, none of us has it. So anyway, this is some of the idea of some of the things that I've run across in the last couple of days. They got my goat pretty good. But when Merkel in Germany stood up and stated, we got to have absolute control in one hand, good grief, man, come on now. There's limits, and you know, I'm beyond my limits. I invited Minuteman. Is he on here tonight?
You betcha, brother. I've been standing by.
Minuteman, you hear what I'm up to. Don't tell them that secret we got going, but give your opinion of what I've been telling these people.
Well, you're exactly right. Eric Holder especially. Eric Holder is probably guilty of 10 times more than what we're seeing right now. I think a lot of people would be shocked if a good, thorough investigation was done on Mr. Holder to find out that, well, he's been doing dirty business for, probably a good 20-some years. And let's face it, folks, this is the guy that bosses the FBI around. So let's get on the telephones and let's get busy. Let's get rid of this piece of trash. That's exactly what the man is. He is a piece of trash. Believe me, he's got everything coming that will come his way, even if he gets to spend a good year with Bubba. So, by all means. And here again, this Postmaster General stuff. Look, folks, I don't know about you, but I'm like Drake. There ain't nobody going to appoint themselves to nothing and think I'm going to bow down. That ain't happening. That just ain't going to happen on my watch anyway. They're going to have a real bad time with this cat. That's just the way it goes. I'm not about that. I'm about freedom and liberty, and we all know we elect certain people to maintain freedom and liberty the way it is. That's how we got here, is people finagling the system and, well, railroading our boats. So, you know, we got some pretty big task ahead of us, I guess you could say. Don't fret it. There's good things going on, too. Won't go into all that right now. That could probably take up 2 or 3 shows. But anyway, yeah, Drake, I agree with you, my friend, that It's time to get busy and get rid of Holder, turn our backs on people that want to self-appoint themselves to any positions. Unless they're elected properly, they don't need to be there.
You familiar with Jural assemblies?
One more time, brother.
Are you familiar with what's called a Jural assembly?
No, refresh my memory.
It's a citizen's grand jury.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, you know what it takes to make one, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Do you understand the validity of it in terms of the system we presently have?
Not that I can say yes completely. I have probably a pretty good idea. That's something I need to do some homework on. As you know, my friend, I'm all about that Second Amendment, and that's a handful in its own right.
Okay. One of the things a lot of people don't understand is the number of people it takes that have to arbitrarily be picked out of a hat, so to speak, until you have a certain number. When that Jural assembly sits for the first time, they take another secret ballot deciding who the foreman is going to be. That foreman then is responsible to make sure that the paperwork that they generate, the decisions they make, are presented correctly into the system we presently have. Most people don't understand how that works. And I keep hearing, oh, we're going to convict you of this and do that. And, man, go somewhere. You don't even know which end of a voting card to use. I mean, that's a dangling Chad routine. We already had a belly full of that, I'm sure. What I'm talking about is that there are a lot of people out there, and these Postmaster Generals are an example. They want to hop on the freedom train and charge you something. They want donations. They want this or they want that. Now, if you're actually getting sold a product that you think is cool and it's accurate, that's different. If you're buying an idea and it don't have support, that's a big difference. The Jural assembly is required to take minutes of everything they discuss, both recorded and transcribed. The transcription is then made into an affidavit of charges against whatever individual or issue it is that they have taken up. That affidavit is signed by the jury. Name, address, phone number, and you got to print one of them so somebody can read it. This is then turned over to an attorney general. I hope I make myself clear. An attorney general. You don't just submit it to a prosecutor. That boy never saw one before. You turn it over to an attorney general, state's level, minimum. He then designates the authenticity of the charges. If they're supporting documents, those are also, you can make copies. You don't have to turn all your original stuff in. I suggest that you keep copies at the very least. All the supporting evidence gets turned over to the man so that he can make an honest determination if there is an investigation. And at that point, then you have entered him into common law realm. This is where the people's grand jury actually has its standing. And they'll try to tell you, oh, this doesn't fit because we're under maritime law. Well, really? Ask them if they've ever heard of the Uniform Commercial Code. If not, they might want to look up UCC 1-308. That is a common law defensive position so that you do not have what's called an inferred contract and is based in common law. All of your commerce, contracts, etc., come under that. Whether anybody likes it or not is not my problem. Once you understand the capability of being able to use the combination of common law and commercial corporate contract law, you have a situation where nobody is above the law. The same thing can be applied to Eric Holder or anybody else, to include the president, the Supreme Court, you name it. Nobody is off limits. Nobody is above the law. You have unalienable rights. That means they're not allowed to screw with that. Show me the entity that's above God. And they can't do it.
I can't think of one.
You know, I can think of a whole bunch of them that are down here crawling in the dirt going, yes, massive, don't hurt me. Them lightning bolts is dangerous.
Yeah.
But quite honestly, this is the base procedure. This does not absolutely apply to each and every case. It depends on what the charges are and the validity of the charges and the type of charges that you're looking at in terms of a Jural assembly. Now, the other part of this is that you do not need to have, as such, per se, a Jural assembly for any declaration. You do have to have one foreman of the meeting, however you want to look at that person, one secretary, and one witness. It's better then to have two other people, that makes 5, to help make motions so that it's not just a one-way street, and to make sure that things are done the way they're supposed to be done. They can check against what, you know, oh, you don't want to say it that way, do it like this. Oh, yeah, you're right, I'm sorry. Bingo, you get it straight. Then after those things are done, you take a vote. You agree to what we've got. Read the copy, read it over, see what you think. And 9 times out of 10, you get a unanimous vote. These things are similar to a notification process that was completed some time ago. The documentation is certified by a statement of certification by the secretary and notarized. That notarization also carries with it a complimentary contract to the statement of fact of the correctness of the minutes. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. So what you end up with is an extraordinary legal document, and unless you can break a notary republic in terms of the law, it stands pretty much. Now, back to Eric Holder. I'm sorry, but I've seen too many of these people wiggle loose. I don't think this man ought to get loose. He may have some fine qualities. He may not be a bad person, but he's been working the wrong side of the fence, and therefore he's not to be trusted. He refuses to officially request that the illegalities of the crossings in the Southwest be terminated. By that I mean closing the border. Now, I don't want people to get the wrong idea about this. My personal take on this is that somebody who's been here for, say, 10, 15 years, they work regular. They got kids. They support their family, pay the rent. I think they need to accelerate a green card for that person. Make sure that his family also has green cards. Now, no credit for time served, and they do not get the 2-year abeyance of taxes. They start paying taxes at that point. But they continue to stay in this country as a legal. Now, part of the system that needs to be rectified is that person needs to report what they've earned, so we know that somebody else who would charge $15 an hour isn't screwing this guy at 7. And this is done a lot. You take a pickup truck out in California and drive around, you can pick up Latino workers $5 an hour, and they're happy to get it. And you work them 12 hours a day. They're so happy that they got something that they can go home and feed their family with. I mean, this is ridiculous. So anyway, I mean, that's just, one take. But anyway, back to the fun and games. Funny games as I see it is Eric Holder. I think he's a joke. The reason I do is some of the rulings and some of the things that he stated are just about as incorrect as it gets. He's also done some things in terms of legalism that is unconstitutional, and I think he needs to be put out simply so that we can find somebody who can fit in. And I got a name in mind. I want everybody to think about this. Think about having somebody such as Judge Napolitano in that office. Ooh, you talk about clearing out an office building. He's not going to put up with any shenanigans and fun and games. I don't know if you've watched his videos, but he stated this is unconstitutional. You don't do that. Maybe he would have the guts to arrest some of these people that have been doing these things, acting unconstitutionally, rights, playing games with our citizenship, whatever. So, these are just a few of the things right now. And I'm in the process of changing phones again, so hold on to your ears.
And once we get to the point where we're going to be doing questions and answers, the chat room has been burning up with questions. So once we get to them, I hope you got a full cup of coffee and just went out for a smoke a minute before.
Well, how about we take a break?
Okay. Can
we do that?
Yeah, we can do that. You got to give me just a second to get set up on it. Let me give you a heads up on some of the questions that are coming from the chat room. They have to do with the States Project, and they have to do with some people are really confused as to why they're supposed to call the White House. Maybe we can touch on that again.
Okay.
Oh yeah, all kinds of fun things going on. All kinds of them. So, yeah. I'm looking for a really, 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 really good. I'm looking for a really, really good peaceful type song to play here, and
Peter, Paul, and Mary. If I had a hammer.
Let's see. I will find it. I did have it today, and I thought I put it in the right folder, but apparently I did not. So,
Peaceful, Easy Feeling.
Peaceful, Easy Feeling. I might be able to do that one. But let's try. No, Black Sabbath War Pigs. That is not going to be helpful. Not in the least.
Come on.
I got a comment on how Eric Kohler's going to get out from under.
Okay, well, let's do that comment, and then we'll take a break right after that. Okay.
Which comment's that?
It's mine from Mr. B. Our court system is a legislative system. It's not covered under the Constitution, and that's where he's going to find his loophole to get out, because we don't have common law under our court system as it is today, which came about in the 30s. And that's where he's going to find his loophole to get out.
I'm aware of that. The problem is that he's overstepped his bounds in his office. He's committed treason on numerous occasions. And that, I don't care what kind of maritime law he comes up with, are things he ain't going to dodge too easy.
We're going to have to bring him back to common law, because right now he's operating under legislative law.
We'll put him in with Big Bubba for 30 days and see whether or not he wants to make arrangements.
You think so?
I would recommend the boy make some kind of arrangements. He's going to have a bad back real quick if he don't, among other things.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Are you trying to make me laugh, Brother Drake?
I can just see what they do to big ears in a joint. That long-legged Mac Daddy wouldn't get 10 feet.
Right.
Is that the dragon lady?
No, that sounds like Grammy.
That's
It
me,
is.
Grammy J.
That's
I
doggone
invited
sure.
Lady Dragon, and I don't know if she missed a number or what. I tried to call Paul to get and couldn't get through. He was busy on every line there was, and your mailbox or voice box is full. So, can you call him? I tried. So, if she's listening, I tried, and I couldn't get through to him either. So, you're stuck, unless of course you want to call in.
Yeah.
Now, let's see here. What is that call-in number? I know that's on here. Oh, yeah, 805-399-1200. And the access code is 153938#. Does that help you out a little bit?
The problem with that was making a landline phone call using Skype to bring her into the conference. She uses her phone system. Does not allow the completion of calls if they come from either conference call lines or if they come in from anonymous callers.
So in other words, the Canadian football is just as different as the NFL is here, and the phone systems act the same way.
Right, something like that. But what was really interesting was that it worked last week, and this week all of a sudden it don't work. So, okay, I think we're ready to take a break. It's going to be about just a little over 4 minutes. Just everybody relax, take a breath, and we will be back with questions and answers and other good stuff in just a minute. Okay, Drake, back to you.
Okay, I just walked out on my porch, and there was a giant hornet out here buzzing the door, so had to watch what I was doing.
You had to duck him.
Think you want to get an anti-aircraft gun out or something.
Had to sidestep him.
But anyway, okay. You got 2 reasons to call Washington. Eric Holder is felonious. That's number 1. Number 2, the White House says NESARA doesn't exist. And I not only know that it does, but I know some people who got copies. So if they don't want those things to show up in the wrong spots, which I'm sure there could be a leak manufactured some way or another in the right spots to put it out, it might be a good idea if they acknowledge that it exists. Now, NESARA, and I'm going to speak specifically to this, NESARA asks for a 21%, 14% national sales tax. I talked with a person who is a pretty good economist and legalist, and someone I respect a lot. And then I asked another person just to verify what I was told by that man. We don't have to do it that way. Until such time as we get the advanced technologies, however long that takes, and I have no idea, we're going to need to make sure that the roads stay paved, that they can scrape the snow off to some extent. We're going to have to make sure of a variety of different things that need to be taken care of. From what I talked with these 2 guys about was, first of all, the word tax is a 4-letter word, even though there's only 3 letters, and everybody's had about enough of that. Okay, number 2, user fee. In other words, you drive a certain distance, you pay $1. You drive more than that, you pay another $1. Same thing going back. That money can be divvied up among the number of vehicles that travel that road. Now, it don't take much. I think it's, let's see, it's only $1,000 on this one road. That's not too far from me. It's a little, it's about 1.5 lanes. It's kind of funny up here in the woods. They don't quite pave the whole road. So it gets kind of fun. You need to have something you can run off the road in order to pass the vehicles going the other way. If you do not have such capability, you will have a problem. Sometimes some of these farmers get a wild hair or get in a hurry and they'd be towing farm equipment in a pickup truck and moving, and you got to watch them. But the maintenance up here, there isn't much. A lot of it's gravel. A lot of the main roads are paved, but they're not a full paving. In other words, they don't go edge to edge, and it doesn't need to. The other part of it is.
Hello? Paul, can you hear me?
Yes. Who's this?
Hey, Drake. It's me, Lady Dragon.
Ah, good. Okay, hold on a minute. We've got toll roads as it is. Now, if they apportion by the number of cars, the costs involved in maintenance, not the cost in building it, the cost involved in maintenance, then you're going to have a toll, maybe $1, $2, and you can run like 100 miles. I don't feel that's too bad. The busier the road, the less the toll's going to be. Just that simple. Now, as I said, NESARA's got a lot of advantages. That posting, the history of NESARA, is something everybody needs to look at. The reason being is that toward the end of it, it has some of the advantages, what it does, and what it does for us. Primarily, it's financial freedom. So, I think, Lady Dragon, didn't you have some kind of financial news today?
Hello, Drake. Yes, I have some news to share with everybody. Last week, we had a situation with banks in Italy. Now, I have got someone told me something very special is going on with the credit cards. Some credit cards company are actually delaying way past the due date credit that they deserve on credit card. And this has been happening for over a month. And I have it on a certain authority, and some companies are worried. They don't know exactly what's going on. They said, quote, they must have changed things, or they are changing things as we speak. That's what I've been told this morning. So, again, people, be careful and prepare yourself, because you never know what morning things can be very, very different. You know?
That could be a large charge, especially if you got your credit card up near the limit. You made a payment to pay half of it off, and they forgot to credit it to it for whatever reason. They could be changing computers or anything. Nobody seems to know yet. But I'm sure it'll come out eventually.
Yeah, well, don't forget, it's only digits. I mean, you pay and you don't keep your receipt, which is something I strongly advise. Or you say, I pay at the bank, or I pay to the teller, everything is fine. Well, now how, if they decide to close the bank or anything, how can you actually prove, you have your word against them? If you don't have your paper, that's why a lot of people, they deposit stuff to the ATM or the bank, and they throw it in a garbage after, or the recycling. I really strongly to keep all your paperwork that you have done, especially things that you're paying. And I strongly advise that you prepare yourself to have at least 3 months in advance of everything that you need, like rent, money for food, money for water, money for expense, gas, whatever it's that you need for you. I strongly recommend that you have at least 3 months in advance in all of these, because we're going to uncharted territory here. Okay, me and Drake, we're doing the best to advise you people, but it's something it's history in the making. We can advise, we can give you the best information that we have, but nobody exactly know what exactly is going to happen. So I say, please be careful, so you don't get the gentleman that we spoke last week with 20 euro with a wife and 2 children. That's not funny to happen, So I advise you to be careful. And now the credit cards are involved in this now. So I will get more news as I talk to more people in the next few days. But now banks are supposed to close. Now credit card working all weird, worrisome, I say, So I wanted to make everybody aware of that. And like I said, go on the cautious side. Does not matter if you have 3 months of money for the rent, money for the water or the food or whatever you care to have. It's better to have more than less, you know. So this is something I want everybody to take note. Whatever is important for you, please prepare, because we're going on uncharted territories right now. Everything should be perfect, but you know, I always say, prepare for the worst and hope for the best, you know. So like this, you're not disappointed, and you don't have sleepless nights, and monitor everything closely. All your transactions on credit cards and banks, please monitor. You know.
The other part of this is that you mentioned 3 months, and that's actually the rule of thumb that first came up to me, and has since come back up on several occasions. Now, if somebody can lay in at least 2, maybe 3 weeks, extra food, whatever you need, if somebody can, somebody has a garden and they're growing food, and other people have laid up 2, 3 weeks of groceries, at the very least, maybe more, you might be able to put something together as a group and feed everybody and not even use that 1 day's supply that you got. I want you to understand that is the ideology behind community. It's not communal, it is community. This is not where you throw everything in a pot and hope it comes out right, which is what a communal is. This is where individuals simply share the extras that they've got, and it don't have to be much. I might have 50 boxes of spaghetti, and somebody else might have 100 cans of spaghetti sauce. Maybe they like spaghetti sauce and didn't get the spaghetti. Anyway, irrespective, there's ways to work all this stuff out. Now, living in the woods up here, my wife's a vegetarian, so she's going to be eating the veggies. I don't want to have to kill the deer that we got that are friends, but if I get hungry enough, I'll take one of them if I have to, but only if I have to. There's a lot of farmers and ranchers around here who've got cattle, and believe me, they're going to be guarding their cattle very closely. And one of the things I would do would be to go up to them and ask them if it would be possible to purchase one of their head of beef. And, I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm curious. I live right down the road. There's 11 families down there, and nobody seems to have any beef. We just went and got some lamb from down the road and a couple of chickens off this guy, and we're set okay on that. We're going to have chicken stew and a couple other things, but if I could get a whole head of beef, that would definitely help us out a lot. Could you think you might be interested in selling one? You'd be amazed how many people will figure something out.
You'd be amazed, Drake, how many farmers would actually give a head of or a cow to help try to feed people out there. Most of the time, ranchers in their own right can be very generous. I know in here in Texas, and, well, we have a lot of them ranches around. Ranchers are good people. They're not afraid to give.
That, Lady Dragon is involved in that deals with a combination of different types of gaming or gambling. Hold on, I'm going to change phones.
Yeah, you have to realize something, too. 42% of our population is on Social Security, and they're living from Social Security check to Social Security check. Getting back now to Drake saying the toll roads, they don't work. Ever try driving that Oklahoma Turnpike, the 2 of them they got? They are some of the worst roads in the country. We used to have here in Arizona the best roads in the country, but then when they took our tax dollars and put it in the general fund, now we have the worst roads in the country. So you've got to get the money back where it belongs and keep it in the areas that it belongs in your state level. General funds do not pay the bills. They waste money.
And that's why the tolls would be separated from everything else. It would go exclusively and specifically for the toll or use fee designated for.
Yeah, but they
That's a
charge
big
them
difference.
tolls
In
on
other
the
words,
Oklahoma
you got to
Turnpike
remember,
and
too, as these things unfold or as things start happening, you're talking about an extraordinary change between what we have now and what we're going to end up with. There are several ideas out there that do have merit. If people can, to some extent, operate on a barter system, then by all means enjoy that. If somebody is not able to do so, well, how many cooks have we got that are on Social Security? I always loved Grandma's cooking. Well, maybe they could cook dinner and we share the meal. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad deal if they're physically able to do so. Some people ain't going to be physically able. That's the guest for dinner. It's just like a disabled veteran. And that's another thing. Disabled veterans are not as disabled necessarily as people think. I have seen people, I saw a guy in a wheelchair win a contest, and it was a filing contest. And you've seen those tall file cabinets. He's in a wheelchair now. He beat the other guy by 10 minutes. There was no contest at all. And the other guy had both legs, both arms. He could run like a mother. He was just going everywhere, boogity, boogity. The other guy knew what he was doing. He gritted his teeth, and he burnt rubber a couple times, but he won, hands down. It was a contest for a job. And not only that, but he ended up chief of filing. The reason he did was that he knew how to file. You know, it's a little thing called alphabet, and if you follow it exclusively, you get the B's where they're supposed to find the B's. So there's a lot of things that goes into this. Have you got anything cooking right now, Minuteman?
I think I just muted him.
Oh, nice.
Minuteman, did I just mute you because you were making noise?
Oh, I was making noise?
There you go. Yeah.
It's probably the dog licking the phone.
Well, no, the dog's actually in around. Actually, we got a real windy day, and, well, we're kind of grateful for it over here. It was getting, what you call a little on the hot side, 107, 108.
Yeah.
So today it kind of cooled down a bit from this breeze.
So
Drake, on my end of the stick, we, last night on my show, we brought in some people from True the Vote, trying to get people to get more involved with catching, what you call false voting that's going on in the United States, whether it be through people that's not supposed to be voting or whether it be dead people, either one. We've got some people busy on them end of the sticks, and True the Votes. We're going to try to get their message out there so people can, get involved with trying to straighten this voting up. So, when we get this other stuff straightened up, we'll have, maybe we'll have good voting turnouts.
Lady Dragon?
Minuteman and Drake, I had a lot of people asking me about what's going on in Michigan. I guess you two have the scoop on that. Can you clarify all this for us, please?
Let me clarify that. Look, folks, as most people know, I'm in the militia, and I'm pretty well known throughout the United States. Some people love me, some people don't like me. We know how that all goes. But anyway, I have a lot of Michigan militia friends. And I'm telling anybody right now, I would have been notified ASAP if anything like is being reported has went on. Now, they're saying that bombs were dropped on 500 of the Michigan militia and they're dead. Well, folks, if that's the case, they're keeping it real. They're keeping it awfully hid, even in the areas in which this is supposedly going on, which I have people in them areas. So, folks, look, I've gotten in contact with them. It's been debunked. That is nothing but fear porn going on out there. There's not a bit of truth to that. So discard that and let's move on.
Minuteman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Paul in Colorado. I just want to point out, as far as that original posting of that story, that was written by Sorcia Fall, who is a known and proven disinfo agent that puts out fear porn.
Yes, sir. Also, Sorcia Fayal put it out, or Sorcia Fall, whatever you want to call that person. My wife's done some background. Now, this Sorcia Fayal or Fall, whatever you want to call her, him, actually is a male, and actually writes a lot of the articles here in the United States, and then likes to post them all over the European Times and things like that. Folks, if you see that name, know this. It's pretty well disinformation. It's just made to rile you up, cast more fear into y'all, maybe to possibly even poke somebody into doing something foolish, you know. So it gives them a reason to play with the NDAA. Things like that. So do your homework, folks. Make sure that before you fall prey to any of this disinformation going around out there, that you really check it out. If it pertains to a militia, get a hold of the militia. There's plenty of us out there. I'm pretty ready available on Facebook, as y'all know, on Global Voice. I'm also known as Rick Light. Not afraid to answer questions, and we try to be timely. If somebody asks one, we try to get to them as quickly as we can. And, well, it's like anything else. And, folks, we know a lot of disinformation's going out on two ends of the stick. Now, we've got disinformation going out on all kinds of different stories that create the fear. But we also have a lot of disinformation agents out there trying to hurt prominent people in the freedom movement right now. Keep yourself aware. It's real simple, folks. People giving you productive solutions of what to do and where to go and how to get things done productively and keeps things moving ahead. Well, that's how you identify your real deals out there, folks. But now, if it's somebody out there poking around and trying to discredit somebody that is providing what I just told you, productivity, well, know this. They're a disinformation agent. Either one of two kinds. Either they've got a severe ego problem and they're jealous of someone's following, or, well, they're paid to do what they're doing, folks. And chances are it's probably the paid deal that is the most likely scenario out of that. There ain't nothing more fun than getting a paycheck to discredit good, prominent patriots and freedom fighters. So just keep that all in mind.
Okay, just real quick, because in the chat room I'm watching stuff here. Can somebody follow up with the Michigan story as that as the patriots being killed is false, but we still have related stories to radiation levels and everything else?
Radiation levels,
yes,
explosions, birds flying.
And we are finding out, we're still doing homework on that, but we're finding out that some of the equipment had a failure in it. That's what we're finding out.
At the nuclear plants?
At the nuclear plants, yes.
Okay.
But some of the equipment had a failure. Now, that's what we're finding out. Bear in mind, we're still studying this. We're still trying to get some of the bottom line details so we could give people a positive word on that. But so far, it's looking like it was a failure on the machinery or your meters.
Okay, a failure on the meters. The question specifically mentioned explosions and birds flying all over the place.
Our information says that there may have been some earthquakes up through there.
Earthquake equals explosion? Yes. Explosion equals earthquake?
Well, it can have that appearance at times, yes. When the ground breaks, it makes a terrible noise like a bomb going off. Anybody that's been in an earthquake can verify that. But anyway, like I said, we're still picking out some of the details on that. Now, I can tell you that no militia members have been shot and killed. None.
Okay.
None of them have been blown up by bombs.
Okay.
Now, whether or not there was a mishap up there at a nuclear plant and they're just keeping it covered up, well, we don't know that quite yet. But our information is saying that it was failure on some machinery and that it could have been a possible earthquake. So just relaying what we know as of now.
All right, we'd appreciate it if you'd keep checking, because...
Oh, we will. We'll get to the bottom of that one.
Things just don't sound right, and I don't know. On the one hand, they published this information that 380 people got blown up. On the other hand, they make an announcement that the radiation levels ranged from 2,000 to 7,000 units in that area, and that there's 1 million people that are in risk of catching something real nasty. One question from the chat room, and this is a repeated question. Let's see, looks like about 11 times. Negotiations update. What were the vote results? Have the principals of the notification or the negotiation seen the results? What are their initial responses? What's going on with Mr. Keenan?
Well, at the beginning of this show, I had to kind of lay off a few minutes because I was talking to Mr. Keenan. I can tell you that there is some excellent news in that specific area. Now, by that I mean everything has basically been taken care of in terms of his reason for going to the area that he did. The families have decided to give him full control over all of the collateral accounts.
Okay, and this means what?
Well, let's see here. 8,700 bunkers and warehouses full of gold.
Really?
And I don't know how many. I have no concept as to how much is what. Now, it could be gold, it could be diamonds, it could be things of value, and it varies as to what the basis of the wealth can be. But most of it has...
Paul Thompson, could you either quit playing with your dog or mute, please? Sorry.
Basically, it can be a combination of types of wealth. It may not necessarily be simply gold, although that was what it started out to be, because gold was a lot more valuable than silver at the time. Now, and I'll make people aware of this, due to the fact that there is this much gold, it's been decided that there is not going to be an extraordinary release of it in terms of making sure that what is done does not cause extraordinary problems in the economies of the world.
Okay, what kind of a time frame are we looking at?
No, I'm not going to state times. I already told you that.
Well, as far as releasing it. As far as releasing it, are they going to do like one treasure chest at a time or what?
That has not been disclosed to me yet. My understanding is that certain valuations of it will be allowed to be used, and if those portions are used as they are intended, in other words, humanitarian, decent projects, people are hungry, you feed them, people need jobs, you put some manufacturing in, updating infrastructure, repairing it, putting a bridge in where one's rotten, whatever. Then, as that is completed, now, that's just an example for here. I don't know if very many people have looked at Africa lately, but there's a lot of people there who are starving to death. And I don't know if anybody's ever been around hungry people, but I have. And it is the most heart-wrenching thing I've ever experienced. We were on a long patrol, and we only had a certain amount of food. And when I left that place, I didn't have any left.
Okay.
I knew I could survive. I can eat bamboo and ants or something.
Well, I'm
those
sure
people
that
couldn't stand up. They were bony. I mean, good Lord, here's my food. Anyway,
I'm sure that everybody would be happy. I'm sure that everybody would be happy to give them a little bit of time to release the gold because, of course, that would have ripples in the gold market and that would have global impact. But there are some other things they could probably do as far as the gas that's still in the tanks for the chemtrails planes, the Corexit dumping in the Gulf, GMO seeds, nicotinoid pesticides. They could start moving on those, right?
Exactly. But you have to build a place that can manufacture enough of a certain commodity that deals with those things. There are limits on the factories that can manufacture what can take care of it as it is. However, with an infusion of wealth, and I want you to bear this in mind, it may be that they do not move the gold. It may be a similar situation where they leverage it into a currency. Now, I'm not going to say specifically it's going to be dollars because I don't know yet. It's not been fully decided to change the currency or anything like that. But were it available to start working on everything at once, that would be great. There's a lot of people that are unemployed. Maybe $10, $12, $15, $20 an hour would be a lifesaver. I would hope so.
Seems to me if they don't have to
start somewhere.
Seems to me if they don't have to fuel a plane to dump more poison on us, then they might be able to save a little bit of money there. Now, you were going to talk about a report from your Pentagon contact tonight. Did we already cover that or no?
Yes. I specifically requested some information, and it's been worked on, and I will hear back shortly. Now, part of that is the call that I'm asking people to make. There's two of them, not just one. Eric Holder's one of them. The Pentagon is the other one. We want our freedom now. We want our freedom now. And if enough people call in, they'll hear you. And I'm hoping it'll get them off the pot. A couple of things are in process that will take a certain amount of time, but everything is set to go, so it won't take very long. That much I can tell in terms of what I've been privileged to understand. Now, vote totals. Somebody wanted to vote totals. Total vote was 4,818. I remember that was a short notice vote, and of course it went everywhere. But out of the 4,818, we had 28 no's. So we had 4,790 yes. That's 99.4%. Now, I told a lot of people that this vote may or may not count for a lot. Well, it's already being used, and it's counting for a lot. I was not sure, and therefore did not make any promises of pie in the sky or anything like that. The bad guys know what it is we want. They also noticed that there is no provision for them that was voted on anywhere in there. So they're concerned, and I know they're listening, so I'm going to suggest this. We will offer you a fair trial. Depending on how much you help us fix the problems, depends on whether or not your sentence is reduced, and if so, how much. Some people who have done extraordinarily nasty things to a whole bunch of human beings will be executed. Now, there's a reason for my taking that stand. I don't know if anybody in the listening audience or people that can hear me have ever been around a truly evil person. And it could be Great Aunt Matilda was just a snarly old witch of the north, or wicked witch, whatever kind of thing. It could be some dude that just had that deadly looking stare all the time for everybody. There is a certain point where the human mind can only handle so much pressure. With the extraordinary things that are going on, one of the things that needs to be protected are the minds of those who are not schooled and are not exercising their capabilities. And that means most of the population. A lot of people are aware, but they also need to start practicing what they are learning now, immediately. A truly evil mind usually has some of the capabilities that the best have, and as such have a tendency to be able to influence or pollute clean minds. It's like a bad person raising a kid, and the kid grows up to be bad. Well, I wonder how that happened. Very simply, the angels, ETs, this new up-and-coming change that everybody's supposed to go through, state quite clearly, and this has been posted on NESARA and a couple of other websites, that because of the extraordinary evil, they want us to have a nice, happy change from where we're at now to the advanced position. They do not want anybody around us who has an extraordinarily nasty, mean, angry, get even, I hold a grudge, let's nuke them, let God sort them out. Get the machine gun, man, there's a whole bunch of them. This sort of ideology has got to go. Now, just what I named is not necessarily the crux of the matter. That level can be dealt with. It's better dealt with by them than us. They have the capability of actually healing someone's spirit, something that we do not have, let alone have the knowledge of. The crux of it is very simple. They stated that the execution, all it does is it turns off the biological form. Your spirit lives forever. If they find something that's extraordinarily nasty, that they don't believe can be rehabilitated or healed, or however you want to look at that, they send it back to the Creator. And the Creator takes it and makes 2 or 3 other souls that are like that and puts them together and gets them straightened up and makes nice ones out of it and sends them back. Now, that means that nobody is going to get totally destroyed. But they're not going to exist anymore as such. I do not understand how all that works. I'm not going to allude to the fact that I have any knowledge of that. This is what I've been told, and like I said, it's been posted on the NESARA. People want to read it, go for it. So what we're going to be faced with is a combination of things. Between fall of 2011 and spring of 2013, the ascension or change to this new dimensional level of being is supposed to take place. ET, angels, whatever you want to call them, ain't given an exact time. The reason they're not is that there are things called variables. So things can be changed in terms of their dates according to what we do. And apparently we are a big variable. If you go into any kind of a crowd somewhere at the mall or something and look around, you'll see what I mean about variable. So what you have to look at is that some people have done things that are so extraordinarily evil that, in my considered opinion, they should not be using up our oxygen. Just that simple. That's something that should not be happening. The second part of it is that that nasty attitude needs to be boxed up somewhere or another. We do not have that capability yet either. So the alternative is to eliminate its physical existence, bullet to the head, however you want to do it, and let the angels take care of the problem if they can. If they cannot, then it's not a problem. They send it back. You take parcel, piece of this, piece of that, put it together, turn its light bulb on and shines nice and bright. There you go, got a good one now. Here, catch. And it gets tossed back. This is oversimplified. I'm not going to get into great details about the spirituality. I don't like talking about this stuff. Everybody thinks this is crackpot stuff. And in some ways, I can understand people believing that. But the crux of the matter is that most of the beliefs that people hold dear and that has been explained to them as to how things are and how they work are not exactly what things are in reality. We're going to go from being cavemen to what we got now forward, that much of a jump. We're going to have to be taught how to walk, probably. Most kids fall over everything for a while. We're going to have to be taught how to think at that level. Don't create boils on your sister's butt that ain't nice. If you can imagine how kids will act, that'll give you an idea. We are supposed to have some creational power at that level, from what I've been told. So you may not be too far from accurate.
Break in.
Hold on.
Okay.
The main thing is that the vote was, I thought, great. We got a 99.4% yes. That was forwarded to Mr. Keenan, who shared it with other people, as well as the people who are looking to surrender. It is under our vote. That simple one little bitty vote right there is under consideration.
Okay.
Everybody wants basically the same thing. It's called freedom.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I've got a follow-up question from the chat room. The question is, Ben Fulford reports that things will be happening between the 15th and 20th of this month, i.e. the secret meetings. Also, another report states that we'll be pleased with the happenings on the 21st of June. Unfortunately, that is the June solstice and the same day that the Cabal is to have their sacrificial meeting at Kimball Castle in Colorado. Are we, as humanity, just going to sit back and let this meeting occur, or are we going to be stepping in and not allow this to take place while we're supposedly in negotiations with them? You know, you're mentioning the fall and ascension and all kinds of great and interesting things are going to be happening, but a lot of the stuff we're looking at is the military training, the institution of Agenda 21. There's a lot of stuff happening now, not 3 months from now. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Some of what you see is a two-way street. People who have not heard that before, listen up. Two-way street means traffic goes in both directions. Irrespective as to the direction any particular vehicle goes, it can be an advantage to both sides. By that I mean the side that sent it, whether it's good guys or bad guys, doesn't matter, can feel that they're accomplishing something. Whereas movement of troops, concentration of troops in the right areas would be, say, the bad guys sent the car down the road, could be to our advantage were these people to be mostly good guys and happen to show up at the right time at a Bilderberg meeting and just happen to bring a whole load of handcuffs with them in somebody's trunk. Whether that's going to happen, I don't know. I would call the Pentagon and ask them. Okay. Mr. B, I think we had a question from you out there, right. and we had another question. And I'm going to make sure that we get to open things up to the conference line so we have plenty of time to get those questions answered. Go ahead, Mr. B.
Okay, my question is, you said we're going to get educated. Is that going to be a 100-year jump or a 500-year jump in between? You know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, it's going to be, in terms of existence and reality, Cro-Magnon to now, okay, go that much further in advancement, technologically, physically, mentally. So we've got a lot of learning to do.
That could be.
Yeah, we do.
That could be roughly a 200-year jump then.
Probably more than that. Okay.
Half a million years, maybe.
Something like that. Now we've got a lot of lines that are muted yet, and we also have a lot of lines that are not muted at the moment. And I just like to keep this as I'd like to keep this as orderly as I possibly can. And I realize people have their questions, they want to get them answered, and they want to make sure they get in here. Well, we've got a 3-hour time limit on the radio show, and we have a 6-hour time limit on the conference call. So if we're going to get in as many questions as we can, though we might be going a little bit over. Okay, do we have another question from the conference line?
I wanted to speak up, not so much a question, but a statement.
Okay,
Drake
what's
was
your
talking about.
Who are you?
Drake was talking about changes, spirituality, and whatnot, and how fast or how slow things can go. There are people that are part of the ground crew, myself included, that do know a lot about this, a lot more than a lot of people give us credit for, because we keep quiet for pretty good reasons. Drake pretty much named it. People think it's baloney, hocus pocus, this, that, and the other. I'm on Facebook. I'm in the Global Voice. I'm under Firebird. Anybody wants to reach out, they can. I've got this information. I've been working with our galactic brothers and sisters my entire life. I know what's going on. I can give you info that the governments might not have with regards to spirituality and the spiritual side of all of this mess.
Okay, thank you, Firebird.
That's basically what I wanted to jump in and say. That's why I said break in, because I understand what Drake is talking about.
Yeah, and you probably understand what he's going through with all the information flying around too, huh?
Yes, sir, I do, because I am in full telepathic contact with every member of every light crew that's floating around this planet, and there's millions of them. So that's a lot of voices to be hearing day in and day out. I'm so used to it, it's second nature to me.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for the comment.
Paul, if you and Drake or anybody, Rick, anybody wants information, look me up on Facebook. I'm under Firebird Beloved Faith.
Okay.
Look me up on Facebook. Send me a message. I'd be happy to help. If y'all want to talk about this on a different level, I'd be happy to share the knowledge and the information I have. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Now, do we have any more questions from the conference line?
I have a question.
And hi, who are you? Who are you? And what are you doing here? I'm sorry. What was your name again?
Eagle, and I'm in Montana.
Okay, go ahead.
Drake, what can we directly do as light workers that we're not doing to the NESARA and everything else that's involved in it, so it happens basically what I consider now?
Okay. Basically, the best thing people can do is to turn their light up. A lot of people refer to your spirituality as your light. I'm so happy, peaceful, and contented where I'm at, I can't hardly stand it. I'm with the greatest love of my life, and it don't get much better than that, believe me.
Amen.
I want everybody to do this. If you want to really know and have a really interesting dream, dream of yourself being able to be 20 years younger than you are now if you're old, or having the same capacity you did at the top, very top of your being when you were both most creative, most inquisitive, and in your best physical health ever. And what you want to do is you want to picture yourself that way just before you go to sleep. The next day when you wake up, you're going to find that some of your little aches and pains ain't aching and paining like they was. That's first. The other part of it is be happy no matter what. When you're happy, you give off vibes, as some people used to call them back in the day. Today's world is called sphere of influence. When you're around happy people, you have a tendency to be happy. It's real simple. Your happiness is contagious. It's almost like a yawn, only it's better because people enjoy it more. So the idea is, you don't have to be the life of the party or some kind of comedian necessarily, but you can spread the joy that you have known in your life. Think of the most joyous thing you ever had happen to you, and kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, make it just go everywhere, all around you. Wallow in it. And then when you go to the 7-Eleven, chipper, fun, hey, cool, how you doing? You might never have seen the person that's behind the counter in your life before, but you watch them, and they'll give you a constipated look if they're not really happy doing what they're doing, but they also will give you a little smirk. You just lighten their load and turn their light up a little bit. And now I'm telling you, that's contagious. If everybody turned their light up as far as they could right now, most of the cabal would simply come in, sit down, hold their hands out, put the bracelets on, I'm done. That's actual factual reality as to the influence that individuals can have within this screwed up world we live in.
Okay. Thank you. We have another question from the conference line?
Yeah, I got a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, who's this?
How you doing? My name is Nemo.
Nemo?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Nemo.
All right, Drake, how you doing today?
Good.
Good. I was doing some research on the internet today and just fell upon some Planet X or Nibiru that they found NASA pictures of, I think in Alaska they were taken, and they were like, I guess these people kept on deleting their Facebook. I forgot the guy's name. It was something like Collins or something. Do you know anything about like a Planet X or Nibiru that they said it was right outside our universe, basically, and everyone's been looking around for ghosts, but it was really there. Do you know anything about that?
Two things I've heard. One is that it's not due to come here yet, and number two, that it don't even exist. Now, that does not necessarily mean that it doesn't exist in actuality, but it could be just simply a hollow sphere, something that has been manufactured.
Yeah, it was like
extraordinarily large, etc. Some of the pictures, something you have to realize is that some of the pictures that NASA got a hold of were manufactured. This I found out from a friend who used to work there. The other part of that is that you have a lot of the theoretics involved in astrophysics. Now, one of the problems in astrophysics is this foretold of alignment. From what I understand is the conditions have to be adjusted slightly, and I understood that something like a Nibiru or a large solid moon or something of this nature could be used to make sure that this thing is correct. The alignment is critical. That is what precipitates the energy flow necessary to take us to the next levels. So that's basically what you're looking at. Some of this is, let's see, what do they call that? I can't think of it. It's an astrophysics conspiracy website, and I can't think of the name of it. But they have a couple of people on there that I know specifically are not just hucksters, people that get A+ in astrophysics. that sort of people that used to work at NASA, and you got to remember two things. Something that is at that distance isn't going to move quickly enough to get to us in a timely fashion to cause interference. And you have to also remember that the people the entities, whether they're angels or whatever you call them, do have the capability of moving planets around. So you might keep those things in mind. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good take on it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate it. We had another question from the chat room, Silver Joe. He's asking about the mass arrests, and I realize that the whole vote and things is kind of like put that on a teeter-totter a little bit. But in your estimation, are the background preparations for the mass arrests continuing and the infrastructure necessary to make them come about continuing? So if we get a week or 2 weeks down the road and things start hitting the fan, that we'll still be able to move forward with those, or have they pretty much dropped it?
Depends on what happens. They're prepared to go either way. The surrender, the ideology of the surrender, made a big difference. They were not expecting to hear that. It was kind of a surprise to them. Now, that does not necessarily mean that there won't be a certain amount of mass arrests anyway, because you do have some of these turkeys that are not going to give up their office chair to anybody, no matter what. So you got to go in and drag them down the stairs, I guess. As far as depending on what these people are looking to accomplish, also depends on what action is taken. This is not an absolute set, dyed-in-the-wool specific, because you've got too many variables. Like I said, all of a sudden you've got them waving a white flag saying, hey, man, can we negotiate something here? Well, you saw what the vote was, and I want everybody to think about that vote. There's no provision in there for them other than the fact that they would be treated reasonably, even though they haven't treated us that way. This way we are superior to them in terms of our ability to understand that we do not want to be like them. Okay?
Okay.
I have a question.
Just one second. I have a follow-up to that. Some of the arrests have already happened, actually. Vladimir Putin, what he did kicking out the central banks, and that's why we're seeing things happening in Europe. The only thing that concerns me is our commander-in-chief, or whatever you want to refer to him nowadays, not only wears a hat in this country, but he also wears a hat for the UN. What effect is that going to have on this country's ability to hold a strong line against them, if necessary, when we've got somebody playing both sides of the coin? Somebody going to arrest him first?
We'll do what now?
Is somebody going to arrest him first?
That's a good question. Even if I knew that, I wouldn't answer it, simply so I didn't screw up whatever plan ends up being.
I know. I didn't really expect it. I didn't really expect an answer for that one.
Okay. Now, the main thing of this is that the United Nations will be turned into what it was supposed to be in the first place, and it will also be relocated. It will be on its own tropical island. It will be its own entity to an extent. It will be owned by all of the countries on the planet. Each one will have a vested interest and a representative in there. The idea of the United Nations was to actually accomplish these humanitarian projects that the collateral funds are to be used for. So the idea behind it was okay. The way it got messed up and what it got turned into ain't so okay. As far as big ears goes, I don't know. You want to put him in with Bubba, or do you want to take him on safari and give him a 22 and say, go play with the lions? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of choices in this, and I cannot answer. I don't like answering predictions, giving information that could screw a plan up, but there are going to be most all of everybody that anyone knows of any name at all, is going. They're going to have to be replaced. Now, to go along with that, the ideology of enemies, and I'll give you a good one: Palestine and Israel, Iran and Israel, Iran and us. It goes on forever. Everybody hates everybody, and I don't like anybody very much, was the song I heard by the Kingston Trio. The fact of the matter is, the planet ain't big enough for everybody to go hide from everybody and be on their own.
Okay.
It don't work that way. So we have the alternative of learning to get along with each other, and it ain't near as difficult as everybody thinks, as we will see.
All right, thank you. We have a question from the chat line, and ma'am, I appreciate your patience. After we get done with her commercial or with her question, I'm sorry. I'd like to touch a little bit on the fame. None of us knew that you were on TV before, and a lot of us have seen the videos. So we'd like to chat about that a little bit. Go ahead, caller.
Honey, are you talking to me?
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Drake.
Hello.
I want to tell you that I support you completely. I'm a woman your age, and the question I wanted to ask you, and I love your spiritual talks, but the question I want to ask you is, I lived through the 50s, too, and you talk about returning to the 50s. And there was a lot of good things about the 50s, but there was a lot of crappy things, too. The way black people were treated, the way Indian people were treated. And my question is, are the ratified constitutional amendments, what's going to happen with them? The women's right to vote, the Indian, being citizens, equal pay for equal work, just the whole civil rights deal. What can you tell me about that?
Well, quite simply, there are a lot of people who just simply like everybody. I was raised colorblind. I don't care if you want to be bright green with hot pink polka dots. I'll probably look funny at you until I get used to it, but I don't mean nothing by it, and I'll tell you that. I said, man, I ain't never seen one look like that before. But I get over it. I look at it's like what Dr. King states, where you look at the content of a person's character, okay? When I say go back to the 50s, I'm talking about the general, real morality as it was intended to be at that point in terms of a combination of that and the freedoms found back then. I got caught riding around drinking beer with my buddies on several occasions. We didn't get felony charges and go to jail for 2-3 years for drinking a beer. The cop made us pour the beer out. He had us all walk back and forth on the road. The one that didn't wobble most, he would check out, make sure we had, that they were the best that was there. Ask him if they thought he could drive us, that person could drive us home, and we went home. And we were thankful that the police did not bring me home to Daddy. Oh, that would have been painful for a long time. So, women's the ideology here is basically giving everyone their full freedom as it was supposed to have already been. That's a difference between what was stated, everybody's free, except women, okay, or except blacks, or except this person or that one, or because of what you do, you're not good enough. Forget all that. the advancement that we have made in terms of understanding than anybody, just about, can do a specific talented job that other people would have trouble doing. And it can be anything, doesn't matter. Think about being put into something that you dearly love and you got a talent for. You tell me how happy you'd be, and you get paid to do it. I mean, that's sweet. And at the same time, you're free enough that you can do whatever you feel like when you're not needed to do other things. I don't see it as being as restrictive or regressive in terms of losing things, but rather as gaining them. Nobody has the right to tell a person what to do with their body, be that a woman or be that homosexuality. That's not up to me. If the Creator decides that's not to be, you won't be that way anymore. Supposedly, He can do just about anything, and in one form or another, things can be changed if it's to be that way. Now, I'm not going to say it is or isn't. I'm not going to say that I haven't seen strange things in Mother Nature in terms of a combination of activity and sexuality that just don't make no sense at all. I've seen I've seen things that other people haven't, and it's part of a learning process. When people take their heart and extend it to another person and really mean it when they do, then there's never a problem between those people. It's governments that start the problems. Well, these governments are going to be adjusted. We're going to adjust ours. I believe, and I firmly believe, that the military will be involved. Now, what everybody looks at is, well, how are we going to fund the military if we don't have no taxes? Well, they have a budgeted amount of funds, and they put a certain amount of those funds on what's called a trading platform, and they can reap that same amount back every 10 days or so. Well, you put the right amount of money in there because you need X amount over a period of time. Then it becomes self-funding. Same thing with Social Security. You do the same thing with that. I mean, health care is not going to exist because we won't need it. If we can regrow limbs, fix, and I'm talking about totally fix, totally repair any kind of disease known to man, it's going to put some doctors out of work, but then again, they're going to be wanting to know how to run the machine, so maybe not. I mean, pick something and look at it in the most absolute positive light that you can. This is what we're supposed to be headed to.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much. Oh, could we have a Pentagon number?
Yeah.
If you have one.
That would be valuable information.
A what?
Pentagon phone number.
I don't have a Pentagon phone number. The only one I got is the White House.
Okay.
It's a 202 area code, I can tell you that. Should be, or something close to that. It's in the phone book. Please. It's in the phone book, believe it or not.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much, buddy. God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have another question?
From Minnesota.
Oh, hi, Minnesota, my neck of the woods.
Wow.
Who's speaking?
I'm Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, okay. Hi, I'm Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Probably not too far away either. It's not that big a state. It's not like it's Texas or anything like that. Go ahead.
Okay, I just have a comment, and then I want to ask Drake a question. Please, everybody, people, Drake and Minuteman and Dragon Lady and Paul took the energy and the action to get on this phone and talk with their hearts and put their hearts forward for freedom of all of us. So I'm just pleading and asking everyone that just simply picked up the phone to listen and didn't, not doing much energy, please, 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 tomorrow, take the energy, please, to do a little bit of research on the numbers if we don't have them today, to call the White House. We have the number, and tell them ask them to remember, NESARA, hello, we know about it. And Eric Holder. Call all your congressmen and senators, even if they're not in your district. I've done it before. And don't forget NESARA and Eric Holder. And don't forget the guys that are, individually involved in that group, the congressman, senator regarding Eric Holder. Call them. And call the Pentagon. Please, it'll only probably take 20 minutes out of your time. And I'm sure somebody on this call can do the research of the phone numbers and post it on NESARA News blog spot and Drake's website and other websites. And pass it on to your neighbors and your family and the people that are involved in the Occupy groups. These young people, they're ready to do this, you guys. Come on. Let's just nudge them. Everybody inform the Occupy groups through the Internet, through the Facebook. Put the numbers to call these congressmen in the White House. And I don't know about other nations, but, hey, they don't know what nation you're calling from. Please come join us and help the United States and the whole world get free. And I just wanted to ask Drake if at the end of the call you could please review, I don't know if I did a good job of who to call and the numbers if you have them, please. And God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah. All right, everybody, listen up. This is the number of the White House. 202-456-1111. Next.
Okay. White House.
Yeah,
All right.
I got a question about the White House.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
If we call, doesn't that give them reasonable doubt to, come trace our number and maybe arrest us for prank calling these people?
You're on this call, right?
Excuse me? Yeah, but
You're on
I'm
this
saying
call, right?
I understand that.
If you have been involved in any way, shape, or form in anything dealing with any form of freedom,
So you're saying we have every right to call in there and ask them questions?
No, I think what he's saying, I think what he's trying to touch on.
Everybody has the right to call the White House. You may not get the audience with the president that you're after, maybe, and get to tell him that you think he needs to change some things, but everybody's got the right to call the White House. It's still a free country until they say otherwise. When they say otherwise, I'm oiling my gun up and going hunting. Just that simple. And there's a whole bunch of people that are going to probably be walking right along with me. This is not, they know better than to put people in a position where they don't think there's any other choice. They want the other choice. The reason they do is that 90% of the military says they're not going to play their game. The other reason is that most of law enforcement also disagrees with the idea of playing their game. So add all the citizens together with that, they got a problem. You're looking at the torches and pitchforks marching to the castle, and they don't like that idea. I don't know if you've ever seen what a pitchfork can do, but it can get pretty, it'd make you really think about things. They want to preserve their butts if they can. They wouldn't offer to surrender if they weren't serious and knew they were in serious trouble. And the vote says so. 99.4% says, yes, we like those three options. I can't do no better than that.
Okay.
There you go.
We did have somebody come up with the. Thank you, caller. I appreciate your call. We did have somebody come up in the chat room and presented the phone number for the Pentagon. And
good deal.
That phone number would be, I believe, I personally believe that number is area code 703-545-6700. 703-545-6700. And I believe what Drake was trying to touch on there is anybody that's really connected with the freedom movement of any kind, whether they're connected with the individual sovereignty movement, the states' rights movement, whether they've ever gone digging on a half a dozen different whistleblower or white hat websites. They already know who you are. So the only thing that you can do really is take your part in the group and raise a stink with everybody else, because you wouldn't want their harvesting data on you to be for nothing. You know, you do want to at least get a lick in. So,
Hello.
anyways, yes. Hello. Do you have a question?
Hi there. Yes. You're talking about phone numbers, Drake. It's Diane from Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. I've just sent you an email. Hi there. I've just sent you an email with a whole pile of phone numbers, including the White House, and it's got Timothy Geithner and a whole pile of phone numbers in there. So you might want to put that on your site.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi. Hello. Who's this?
Hi, this is Rosie from Connecticut, the Constitution State.
Rosie! Rosie, how you doing?
Oh, boy. Hi, how are you tonight, all? Paul and Drake and company?
Oh, it's been a fun show so far, and I think it's going to get a little better.
Yeah, I've been on many of the calls, and I'm really enjoying. I really enjoy everyone's, all the different personalities, and I am very intuitive. I might not be advanced, but I'm certainly intuitive. So I just wanted to say, for those of you who are more of the type of people that come out of the Northeast, who are more tied to having to do everything out of a book because you didn't live the rugged individualist life, you may be interested in using as a manual a book called Constitutional Homeland Security, and an upcoming book that's going to be a couple thousand pages long that will teach people how to put together the well-regulated militia structure and sound money by Dr. Edwin Vieira, who's been working really hard on a gigantic, probably law-sized book, legal book, that will teach people, how to do that kind of thing in their communities and their states.
Cool. Excellent point. And if you have a half a chance, maybe go to Amazon or something like that and have a speed reading course overnighted to you, because don't know how much time you're going to have to read. So.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, when I'm hopeful that necessity is the mother of invention, and that is, I think, people since I noticed that the militia movement, the M word is the stigma is falling away and people are organizing. I believe that they will ask for that solution to be reinstituted, especially because the Northeast there were plenty of that there was plenty of constitutional militias up in this corner here. So it's just a matter of revitalizing it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Drake, can you shed a little light on the order for 460 million rounds of DHS ammo and the 7,000 unit order, or the 7,000 order for 40 auto rifles?
Okay. If the contract's not been let, it's false.
Okay.
And I haven't heard of any money exchanging hands. So until I hear about that, in terms of DOD, you can look up DOD contracts on the DOD website, who's been awarded what, and I'd look on there. That'll tell you whether or not they're actually able to do any of that. Personally, I kind of doubt it. They're getting skinny on the paycheck, and so consequently, like I said, they keep coming out with these laws, rules, regulations. They're going to say they're going to do this to you and that to you and put you in a cubby hole for eternity and all this happy stuff, and I haven't seen it. And I'm kind of beginning to wonder, well, was that maybe not exactly true? Could it be fear porn or fear-mongering, or you won't get in line, I'll see if I can scare you in the line? The bully tactic. The reason I'm saying go after Eric Holder is that the White House needs a kick in the groin. My tongue's beginning to get sore when I talk about some things. I'm trying not to be nasty about it, but I feel pretty nasty about it. That man needs to go. That's just one. There's a lot of them that do. Some of the people that people don't understand that are being worked with are deeply embedded in the financial system as it sits presently. Now, bear in mind, major changes. The things that we are used to and have gotten comfortable with They're going to change a bit. That means people will be discomfortable. That means that it won't be as nice and easy because you ain't quite used to it. It'll work pretty much the same. There will be some differences, but nothing real super major, hopefully.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right, thank you. Now, if you could you comment on the recent comments made by General Odierno, because it has the Oath Keepers pretty concerned?
Odierno, I didn't read that part. And you're getting beeped in.
Yeah.
The middle of what you're saying. I'm missing some of what you're saying.
Well, there were some comments made by General Odierno, and it has Oath Keepers concerned. And
Odierno is who?
Now this I don't know, but they have a conference call at the top of the hour, at the top of this hour, where they're going to be talking about it. Hopefully, I can get some information from the chat room on where that is and what was said, so I can do like a follow-up question. So in the meanwhile, let's go back to the conference line, see if we have a question there, and give me a chance to get my ducks in a row here. Conference line, do we have anybody?
This is Art.
Art, hi, how are you?
Fantastic. Hey, I was wondering if Drake could comment on the movie Thrive, which was released about 7 months ago, and it seems to have lots of truth to it. Just curious if he'd had an opportunity to see it and what he thought of it.
I liked it very much. It's pretty right on in a lot of ways. I recommend several different movies to people. Thrive would be one of them. The Secret, which is more or less a presentation. And the third one I would suggest would be The Matrix, the first movie only. And apply what you learned from Thrive and what you learned from The Secret to The Matrix. Then understand that you're sitting in the Matrix now. Now, some of the comments were when they were doing the Kung Fu exercises, the man got looked at and said, "Do you really think that is air that you're breathing in this place? Do you think that you really do not have control over physicality in our present realm?" is the question I'll ask you. So, what then would be the defining factor? I will suggest that it is basically the spirituality in its origin. I don't know of anything greater. So, everyone will have to make that decision on their own. Some people will refuse to believe that no matter what you tell them until they fall over it. Well, that's going to happen to some of these poor guys. And they're going to be sitting there going, "Wow, man, what a rush. What just happened? Help." I mean, it'd be like a scared little kid. And I can understand that. And they need to be accepted. They need to be comforted. If somebody knows what they're doing, show them how it works. We're going to have to learn how to crawl, walk, think, all kinds of stuff. We're not as advanced as a lot of people would like to think we are, no matter how much of a genius might be.
Mm-hmm. It'd be worth mentioning the website thrivemovement.com, and that movie Thrive does stream for free for any of the listeners who haven't seen it. It is quite good, and as well as The Secret and The Matrix as well. So thank you for commenting on that.
You're welcome.
Okay. We have more information on the Odierno comments, Odierno Joint Chief of Staff. In the article penned by the Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army, General Raymond T. Odierno, the CFR, would see the Army used to address challenges in the United States itself in order to keep the homeland safe from domestic disasters, including terrorist attacks. Where appropriate, will also dedicate active duty forces, especially those with niche skills and equipment, to provide civilian officials with a robust set of reliable and rapid response actions. That sounds to me like they're planning something big.
That sounds like it goes along with the training that's going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah, quite.
Okay, well, the training is nice that they're training people that agree with us how to take the other guys on.
But we don't know that.
It's nice that it's nice to know, and this is going to mess with Mr. Joint Chief. It's nice to know that this person understands his obligation publicly to those who put him in his position. What if he don't believe a word of that? What if he tells the whole of the armed forces, okay, regime change time, everybody takes their coat off, turns it around, and they're no longer gray coats, they're blue coats, or whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to understand, 90%, 85 to 90% have already said no. Then you got 99%. You go playing martial law, we're going home. Okay. I mean, they might be able to secure the latrine at the White House at that level of forces. I'm going to say that he's correct in issuing that. Now, what you have to remember is that there are domestic terrorist groups in the United States who have been here for years. They're called sleeper cells. None of them have been activated for the simple fact that people watch Muslims like they're guilty of something, whether they are or not anyway, and usually most foreigners. If there's some kind of funny situation that starts happening around a certain person's house that people are kind of suspicious of a little bit anyway, that's going to make news real quick. They're not going to get far. Well-planned maneuvers, well, I've asked the militias, and I'll ask again, keep your ear to the ground, have people post, have them switch off, go watch something. It don't matter what it is, a bridge, it could be a dam, it could be power lines, could be cell phone towers, a road, whatever. There are places that these people will intentionally go after. And believe me, can you imagine how nice it's going to look to everybody and their mother-in-law if a militia was to stop a terrorist attack that was going to take out a bridge or a skyscraper? Think about it. Talk about a feather in somebody's cap and stopping the problem before it gets too far. The military may be seen more. These are what are called reconnaissance. They're looking to see what's going on. That's it. Don't worry about them. They're not there to screw with you, and they're not there to see whether or not they could set up a barricade over and declare martial law. They're looking for people who would be putting together large amounts of fertilizer with fuel oil in the back of a truck. They're not looking for Joe Blow standing in the alley drinking a beer while his buddy whizzes on the wall. They're not looking for that. They're looking for the real bad guys, as I have heard. Now, whether they're actually decide to use that against us, I kind of doubt it. Now, as far as Oath Keepers goes, I'm very familiar with them, and I hold them in the highest regard. Sure, keep an eye on it. If you find out something different, let me know, and we'll broadcast that sucker worldwide real quick. But make sure you got good info, and we'll go from there. I mean, I'll stand with those people who are interested in promoting freedom for everybody. Oath Keepers, you name it. The militias, the people on this call who believe in freedom. Very simple. Next.
Okay.
On phone calls to your congressmen and senators from Mr. B.
Phone calls to the congressmen and senators. All right.
Right.
Good point.
When you make a phone call there to one of your congressmen or senators or any of the others, ask them for their fax number too. And after you make your comment to them, send them a fax with everything in it that you told them on the phone. Because 20% of what you told them on the phone won't go any further than the person that you spoke with. So if you send them a fax, they can't deny the fax.
Yeah, they can't deny the facts. That's an interesting play on words. That's an interesting play on words. Okay, do we have any...
I'm going to mute my phone again. I mute it after I make every comment.
Oh, well, thank you. And make sure that you scratch the head of that little puppy dog that's barking in the background.
All right.
Okay. And now do we have another question?
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Okay. I think we had two of you come in. Just throw me some first names, and we'll take you in order.
My name is Paul.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, this is Paul Carr.
Okay, Paul.
Hi, Drake,
Paul. 1 second, please. And who was the other person?
Rob.
Rob. Okay, so first it's Paul, then it's Rob. Just trying to keep everything straight. Go ahead, Mr. Carr.
Very nice. Hi, Drake, and I appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you.
I have a question. I've heard that the dollar might not be used by other countries if it was printed after a certain date. And my question is, do you have any idea what that date is?
Not at the present time, no. Let's see here. Geez. Trying to think of the... get a hold of... let's see here. Brazil might be one country that would be able to tell you. Trying to think of another one.
Countries?
What?
The BRICS countries?
Well, Brazil had some tussle with us before. We used our financial power to screw the country up, and they'd probably be more than willing to give you information that was not exactly nice for everybody to know. I'm trying to think of the other one. If you can get in touch with South Vietnam, they may be able to tell you, or China. There are several different countries that would probably give you that information.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm not sure exactly when the date is. I do know that we printed a load, and I mean a huge amount of money. And I heard this from a couple of international bankers that I know, that some of the international banks were refusing to exchange the currency because they didn't trust it. So.
Okay. Thanks for the advice.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul. And Rob, your question. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, gentlemen, for giving me the opportunity. I was watching a show earlier in the week where Clinton was asked about Italian bank closure, and his comment was that Europe had about 30 days to get it together, or it was going to be disastrous. Any comments?
That's not too bad a prediction on his part. People are not going to pin me down to exacting dates. I'm not going to do that for anybody, even if I'm giving them and I know they're right. I don't know they got that long. It depends on how they decide to handle things. It depends on whether or not one of the other countries that might not be in real good shape, but not seem like it is in too bad a shape, all of a sudden can't meet its obligations. At that point, then the domino effect starts in Europe. So,
thank you.
All right.
That's about it.
Thank you. Do we have another question?
I got a question. Now, this is Mike in Denver. Can you hear me?
Okay, Mike in Denver. There was somebody that got in there just a half a second before you did. Who else do we have out there?
Billy.
Billy? Okay, go ahead, Billy, and then Mike in Denver after you.
Okay. Drake, I got a question for you. What are they going to do with the TSA? Those guys, they're nothing but a bunch of perverts. They need to get rid of those guys.
Well, maybe they'll like Big Bubba.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, my vote was to stop all the fun and games. You give each and every last passenger a gun. Now, some idiot decides to jump up and set their cots on fire. I think is pretty stupid anyway. But so apparently somebody had some rather bad burns in the wrong place. If somebody decided to jump up, we're in charge of the airplane, and all the passengers shooting, that should take care of the problem.
Except for having to land the plane right away.
I guarantee you, nobody would ever try to take one of the airlines again.
Except for having to patch all the holes in the airplane.
TSA, Transportation and Safety Administration. Remember it kept coming out for your safety. UL approved, Underwriter Laboratory. Well, you pay the Underwriter Laboratory and they underwrite your product. Even if the toaster blows up and kill people, you still got your thing underwrite. Okay. I'm trying to think of TSA is a combination of the Department of Transportation and OSHA. Think about that very closely and you'll get an idea. If that doesn't make a screwed up mess in your mind, I don't know what would. It does in mine. I refuse to fly unless I absolutely have to.
Right.
And I'm waiting to find out whether I'm going to have to here shortly. So we'll go from there.
Don't you think that that our government's been caught, putting the guy with underpants bomber, they've been caught putting these people on the planes. I mean, they haven't really caught anybody, really.
Maybe they need to drop them out of an airplane.
Yeah, there you go.
Give them a parachute and throw him out the door. I mean, there are ways to discourage these people from being asinine in terms of their actions as they have done them. Believe me, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what kind of whatever it takes to make people behave. How would you like to get frisked every 12 minutes?
Not.
I mean, think about that. I mean, good grief. I don't know. People are desperate for jobs. They thought that the TSA was a good test of a combination of two things. One is control, the other one is safety, and the third part is, are people willing to do anything to make a buck? And right now, there are some people out there that's desperate enough to do just about anything, and it shouldn't be that way. We have a lot of work ahead of us to do. This is why I'm saying everybody needs to call the government and raise hell.
Right.
I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. Pretty simple.
That's right. They need to be eliminated. Okay, thanks, Drake.
All right. Thank you, caller. And now, was that Mike in Denver? I know it was Denver. I'm not exactly sure if it was Mike.
Yeah, that's correct. It's Mike in Denver.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Drake, what do you think would be one of the first things that a person like myself, I'm just an ordinary guy, would actually notice in real life that some of this stuff is actually really changing? What do you think one of the first or second or third type things would actually happen that would tell me, wow, this is really happening and this isn't just a whole great big ball of smoke?
Two things. The first one being the closing of Bank of America, and the second thing being J.P. Morgan Chase. And the third thing, and this is for everybody who can hear, I made a little deal. I went down to the local church and talked to them. When freedom is declared, every church that's got a belfry is going to ring it.
Okay.
So I guarantee, every little town in the mountains, in the big cities, everybody is going to know it. Don't matter what time of the day or night it happens. It don't matter what day of the week it is. I made a little agreement, and they just loved the idea. And it's called, if I had a hammer, I had a bell, I'd ring out freedom. Oh, boy.
Okay.
So every bell that I can think of that I can get a hold of is going to go ding-dong or something.
Okay.
That ought to give you, an indication. Now, the other indication is a little different than that. Within the next 30 days, you're going to see some actions, and I'm extending that considerably. You'll just have to guess as to exactly what that means in terms of a time frame, because I'm not going to give any kind of exacting times. Within the next 30 days or so, you're going to start seeing things starting to happen. One of those
I keep looking in the sky, and those doggone jets keep leaving those long, skinny trails.
Yeah. Okay, we've got only about 3 minutes left. We do have somebody that came in there with a question. If
Okay,
you
thanks,
can,
Drake.
if you can keep your question very short and the response very short, I'd like Drake to touch on something quick before we finish up. Go ahead, question.
I just have a comment, Drake. It's Diane and Red Deer again. I just sent you an email, and it has in it every single state with all Congress and all their phone numbers. So you do have it. So you just have to click on the state and list all the names with all the phone numbers for every state.
Thank you. That's great. I'll post it on my website.
Excellent. Thank
You're
you,
more
Diane.
than welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Now, the future looks good. The future sounds great, but that could be 1 to 5 years from now. Between now and September, what do we need to deal with and prepare for? We have about a minute and a half.
Okay, I would make sure that you got some extra groceries laid up. I would make sure that you've got what's called hard coinage, and that can be 64 and before silver coinage, which is not terribly expensive to purchase. Gold, if you can afford it, in small denominations of a tenth of an ounce. Make sure that you've gotten in touch with as many of your neighbors and got to know them well enough to be able to rely on being able to talk to them at the very least. And be as prepared as you can. Firearms are something that I would suggest if you can manage that. And pretty much be ready to restart this baby. Think of the Kickstarter on a Harley Davidson, and that'll give you an idea of what we get to do.
All right. Thank you, Drake. I appreciate it. It's been an excellent show. All kinds of fabulous questions. Far about the only thing that's up in the air right now is what can we do aside from that? And that's just Think Happy Thoughts. If you haven't visited karmicwhoopass.com, that's KARMIC whoop, WHOOPS.com. Do that and send that site link to all your friends. Positive intention. I'm thinking it's about the only weapon that we can stack up against them right now. This is Paul with special guest Drake, Lady Dragon, and also oh my God, I forgot. Rick Light. Thank you so much, and thank you.